This is Lee Ridley. I was lucky enough to achieve 2 promotions with Scunthorpe United, but nothing compares to the joy I experience when listening to the Iron Hour podcast. Just a heads up, this podcast contains strong language, you know, the good stuff. If this isn't for you, turn off now. For the rest of you, now fucking enjoy the podcast.
Right, Iron fans, thanks once again for tuning in to another episode of the Iron Hour podcast. As always, I'm your host, Barra. I'm joined by 2 of my usual panelists today. I've got Max Bell. How you doing, Max?
All the better for seeing you, Barra.
You say that every week. I've got with me Marco Poliga. What's up, Marco?
Yeah, I'm all good. Just about recovered from Saturday, but
Yeah, I think we're all in that recovery phase, buddy. And you'll notice we haven't got our familiar face of Iron Army, he who must not be named, the anonymous fan. We've actually got a less than anonymous fan. I'm sure anybody who follows Scunthorpe United will know. We've got the lovely Becky. How you doing, Becky?
Still not over Saturday, unlike Marco over there. Still breaking my heart, and more news to break my heart today. So,
No, of course, yeah. I was probably just say we've put this podcast together last minute. We probably weren't planning on doing one. If I'm being honest, this week we were going to wait for next week. We had absolutely no indication that there would be any news coming out of the club with regards to the managerial situation this week. So we'd always planned to do one next week. And because of the nature of this happening so last minute for us, you know, Gareth wasn't available. And that isn't to say we aren't pleased to have you, Becky. We are very, very happy that you've joined us today. Right. So I think we've got to kick off with the elephant in the room. You know, we are here basically to talk about the situation, the statement that's come out of the club today with regards to Jimmy Dean and the managerial vacancy at the club. Before we get stuck into that, I thought it might be an idea just to visit the history, the backdrop of what's come about over the past couple of days. So, Max, we just have to start with Saturday with a playoff semi-final and the heartbreak.
Yeah, football's a cruel game, isn't it? I thought, look, we didn't play brilliantly. I don't think we played as badly as I've seen some comments on Twitter say. There was probably at least a couple of selection surprises, although I will hold my hand up and say I would have started Barrows at left back as well, but I was disappointed with him in the first half. He didn't play that well. Excuse me. I know some people have criticised Dean for starting Beast on the left. I thought Beeston played all right, actually. Should have had a penalty, but we might come on to that later. And yeah, we just couldn't find the goal. Danny Whitehall, uncharacteristically nervous in front of goal, I thought. Jacob Butterfield and Michael Clunan both of them were terrific. I thought, unusual physicality for Butterfield's game. I thought he really got stuck in at 2 or 3 moments. We missed Roberts when he went off injured. I remember when he went off injured, just thinking, "Oh God, what I did for Connor Smith right about now." Yeah, much to discuss. Frustrating. We all know what happened at the end.
I mean, Marco, I don't know what else to say other than just unpack that one for me.
yeah, I mean, coming back to the game, but like we was on about obviously Beeston starting, and Max just mentioned it there, saying, "I wish we had a Connor Smith when Roberts came off." We had 3. We've got Finn Clark, we've got Corbett, and we've got such like talent. Semi Ferris obviously on the bench. Why aren't these getting on that left wing instead of Beeston, who again we've said on the podcast now, and Beeston didn't have a bad game. I'm not saying that for 1 minute. I don't think he was the reason we're not in a final on Saturday. I don't for 1 minute think that. But it's no secret that he's a centre midfield. And I feel like his best performances have been in centre midfield. So I feel like the thought process, obviously, we don't know Jimmy Dean's managerial thoughts or what went on inside his head, but I feel like he was there as a protection thing for Barrows. I don't think he maybe had enough trust in Barrows. And I mean, first half, like Max said, he was a bit shaky, so it was maybe warranted. But it's football, and you have to roll the dice at some point. And to not go on the front foot, starting a Corbett or starting obviously a Finn Clark, who's been good when he's come on. We should have really took that game. And I think even if we'd have conceded early doors, I do think if we'd have gone for that game early doors, even if we'd have conceded with our most attacking and best 11 on the pitch, obviously barring Denton, we'd have got 2 or 3. I really do think they were there for the taking. But yeah, like Max said, football's the cruelest of games. The penalties are the cruelest of ways to bow out the whole season's work, effort, and everything we've done at the club to get back to where we are now, gone because of a spot kick, which is absolutely balmy. And it's the worst way to lose, but it's the best way to win. So it was gutting. It was actually gutting. I was the pissiest of fans ever Saturday night, and I feel sorry for anyone who saw me because it's like everything's just drained from me. So I can only imagine what obviously then Jimmy and the team felt and the board felt, because we know how much work and effort has gone into it. But yeah, Saturday, the less we talk about it, the better. But again, I don't think it's the worst game we've played. I just feel like we could have gone about. One of those chances goes in first half, e.g. the Danny Whitehall volley, I think we get 2 or 3. But this is it. This is football. It's cruel.
And that's the thing, isn't it? We didn't get 2 or 3. We didn't get 1. A lot of nervous energy, Becky, on the day. I felt you could feel it in our squad, in their squad, in our fans, in their fans. It was just 8,000 people shitting themselves.
Yeah, our fans were brilliant as always. They were still singing at 1, 2 o'clock. I know you messaged me at 1 o'clock saying someone can hear them and stuff like that. The problem with us is we wait until the last minute goals right before full time, and we can't do that in games where we've only got 1 chance. And we tend to get more confident when we scored a goal, which is quite obvious. But when we're scoring goals so late, we're missing most of the game. Yeah, I'm just gutted. I'm heartbroken because it's been a long season. It's been a roller coaster season of emotions, up and down, quite a few times. There's been arguments. There's been everyone standing together, united, and to end it like this, the fans were gutted. I mean, thousands stayed behind at the end, but you could just tell that the fans were gutted, the players were gutted, everyone. And then watching Boston celebrate on our own turf was just. Oh, it was the knife. It was stuck the knife in so much. That was heartbreaking.
That's the thing, isn't it, Max? It's not, it's not a rivalry in terms of like Grimsby, Scunny, but it is a Lincolnshire derby, and to see their fans on our pitch celebrating was really tough to take. But what I would say, I don't know how you feel about this, Max, but we've obviously had the outright disappointment of the last 2 seasons, back-to-back relegations. Because the writing was on the wall with the relegations, this somehow felt a little bit worse because it was just so final and so sudden. It just felt that little bit worse.
So I think there is a bit of, it's the hope that kills you. Particularly the way in which we did lose this year. When Fitzsimmons saved Boston's 5th to keep us in it, you think, yeah, that's more like it. Well, there was a photo of Fitzsimmons' water bottle that was doing around that had like where they thought each Boston player was going to go. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the first 4 were all wrong. Look, yeah, I mean it's a lot of what I think most fans feel at disappointing moments. I would be reluctant to say that it was worse than the back-to-back relegations. So I think standing in the away end at Bristol Rovers, when all we've had to do is lose 6-0 and we couldn't fucking do it, I don't think I've ever felt quite so humiliated as a football fan as I did that day. Now, that's a low bar, but yeah, I'd be reluctant to say it was worse. There'd be plenty of Iron fans listening, and including the 4 of us we've been through playoff heartache before. It's never final, The so the motto of Solskjaer, isn't it? In Latin, there is always next season. Semper proximus annusess. So that is what I would say to Iron fans. As much as I didn't expect to quote Latin tonight, it felt fair. There's always next season.
I think it's the pressure as well, isn't it? Like we was expected to go up as champions, and then we was expected to fly through the playoffs, and not by our fans in particular, but everyone else, all on social media. So that's just heartbreaking because there's so much pressure on them to start with.
Yeah. I think one thing that's been quite interesting to see is there were so many rival fans obviously wanting us to lose because of what we expected to achieve and we sort of built ourselves up to be able to achieve. But then a lot of them thinking, shit, next year Scunthorpe are still going to be in this division and we are a big fish. And I mean, let's dust ourselves down after Saturday. No matter who's in charge, obviously we're going to come on to that. We are going to be up there and we've got to be a force. And so, yeah, it was funny because I was all like, oh, get in, shit. We've got them again next year. We could have done with Boston going out.
But I think that's a really interesting one because up until this season, we've never really been the big fish. Like we've never had that experience. Even last season in the National League, there were plenty of sides at least as big as us really. So I think that's been a new experience for Iron supporters throughout the whole season. But yeah, even on the shootout, it's so frustrating. I look back and I think, Jacob Butterfield and Callum Roberts both going off injured. They'd have definitely been in my first five. They'd have probably been in my first three. So it just felt a little bit like the football gods decided that it wasn't going to be our night, and yeah, both the non-penalty and then the 12 penalties that followed it. It certainly wasn't our night, was it?
Captain's performance, I thought, from Clunan, and I thought he took his penalty well as well. That's as good as Clunan's played all season, I thought. Certainly since the first 10 games or so. Right, I think we just have to address the elephant in the room. We have to get through the next bit. So, huge news coming out of the club today, and news that I know will have absolutely split the fan base. Some will be happy, some will be disappointed, and some won't quite know what to make of it. So, let's do this. Let's read the official statement from the club, and let's take the conversation from there. So, the official statement from the club, which came out today at 4:30 this afternoon, reads: Scunthorpe United can confirm that following the conclusion of the 2023-2024 season, Jimmy Dean, Chris Plummer and Ant Coombe will be leaving the club. Planning for the 24-25 commenced immediately off the pitch following last weekend's playoff semi-final defeat, with budgeting put in place and confirmed for a second year in the Vanarama National League North as the club looks towards sustainability and bringing expenditure in line with the level and what the football club can afford. It became apparent that a reset was required moving forward into the new season. Joining the club at the end of January 23, first team manager Dean and assistant Plummer arrived into a new regime shortly following Coombe as strength and conditioning coach. The trio unable to steer the side away from the relegation to Step 2 football. Despite a positive season this year, United were unable to make an immediate return to the National League, finishing second in this league and eventually falling short on penalties. The year had turned the club to winning matches regularly and reinstalled a unity between the community, the supporters, and Scunthorpe United following and through much adversity. All the while, the club has been battling significant inherited debts, with new ownership working each month to fulfill the massive playing staff wage bill that had been inherited by the new board and installed at the start of the campaign. I'll just try and summarise, guys. The club would like to place on record the thanks for the hard work, commitment and dignity shown by Jimmy, Chris and Ant during some of their darkest days Scunthorpe United has been through in its 1-5 year history, all three leaving with our very best wishes. We have some comments here from Michelle where she says, to be saying goodbye to Jimmy, Chris and Ant is undoubtedly one of the toughest decisions since we took ownership of the club, and it's a decision we've made with a heavy heart. She then goes on to mention the debt and again just talks about basically the aims to get the club back sustainable for this year. She then says we'll remain wholly committed to recruiting and retaining players for the 24-25 season who fall within our budget. This will give us the best possible chance to see us competing at the top of the league. And once again, she thanks Jimmy, Chris and Anne and says that they've carried the badge well and they are always welcome to visit Attis Arena should they wish. So much to unpack there, so much to get through. The headline is surprising news to me personally. I have to be honest. I did not see this coming, if truth be told. Jimmy Dean has left Scunthorpe United, Max.
Yeah, I think most Iron fans, irrespective of where they perhaps sat or what they were thinking when they were leaving the Boston game, were surprised by the decision. We've gone from Saturday to Sunday to Monday. We've recorded this on Thursday night. Today when the news came out, there's quite a delay really. They've clearly gone through a process. I was in Grimsby when I got the news, which isn't usually where I like to get my Scunthorpe United news. Look, on a personal level, I'm very disappointed. I really feel for Jimmy and the team. I think that again, it adds credence to the football can be a very cruel business. If Trevor Kettle Jr. points to the spot as he should have done when Beeston was fouled in the penalty area, we score that, we win 1-0. Well, they're still in a job, at least until Saturday. If Barrows takes a better penalty, if Butterfield or Roberts don't go off injured, if the Boston keeper doesn't make a really good save from the McAlinden penalty, well, we wouldn't be reading this statement out. It's not the first time that a Scunthorpe United manager has been, controversially sacked for a genuine want of a better phrase, but it doesn't get any less surprising, really. I keep thinking I shouldn't be surprised by anything in football, but yeah, here we are.
So I guess, Max, you probably, if I had to really put you on the spot, agree or disagree with the decision, or is that a bit of a harsh question? Rather, I don't know, happy or disappointed with the decision? Is that a fairer question?
I mean, I'll answer both. I think I do think it's the wrong decision because the margins have been so fine. I personally, if I'd have been sat in the boardroom, making that decision, I'd have said that I thought Jimmy Dean deserved another year because of all the off-field issues. That he hasn't had a season without any mental off-field shit. Now, that's not me saying that the on-field stuff has been perfect this season. It hasn't. Definitely wasn't perfect last season. But there has been no year without mental off-field shit. And, any of us who've worked at any organisation, you can try and do your job as well as you can. But if there's shit kicking off above your head and in the department and in the organisation around you, that becomes really difficult. I am disappointed, but look, whether or not it's the right decision in pure footballing terms, well, we'll know in 12 months, I suspect, won't we?
Mm. Marco, were you as surprised as Max was to hear the news?
Surprised, yeah. Like Max said, it seems like it's sort of been a delayed response after the playoffs. I thought if it was to happen, it'd have been sooner. Obviously, you feel like they'll have been in the club in the last few days. Obviously, we don't know the retain list. Obviously, this must have been discussed previously. So this must have been happening before now. And then for him to then lose his job prior to that, which seems really, well, going by the statement, it may make it sound like a financial decision with budgeting, which obviously we don't know. Which if it is like obviously Max said, if you have to put me on the spot, if it's a right decision or a wrong decision, if the club have to do that, then so be it. But yeah, from the outside looking in to just a normal Scunthorpe fan, it seems very harsh. And I mean, what Jimmy's done this season, like Max said, with the off the pitch issues. I think it's like that meme where there's that guy sat on the table where everything else is just on fire behind him. Everything is okay. And that is what Jimmy essentially did. Like what was going on behind him in that boardroom at that club, which was obviously the shit show of all shit shows. And Jimmy's managed to get a team together. And I'm not saying we're under no illusion. Jimmy got it wrong sometimes. On the previous podcast, I was having nightmares about Beeston starting left wing. And then we were saying in that playoff semi, and I genuinely I could see it and I could see it and I could see it. And I thought, that is just so Jimmy for him to be on that left wing. I know it's going to happen. And when I saw the team, I thought, but taking sort of the emotion away from that, I sort of can see the board's reasoning. He didn't achieve his goal. But it's extremely harsh. And like Max said, one penalty decision from a referee, and we'd have still been talking with Jimmy Dean as our manager now, it boggles. But here we have, this is football.
I guess I'll just stick with you, Marco, just press you a little bit further because, in previous pods, we have to have balance. We've always had balance on this podcast, and that's the thing that we'll always aim for. So, in previous podcasts, you have mentioned some of your concerns about Jimmy's tactics. Obviously, we've had Max, I won't say at the other end of the spectrum, but Max, who's been largely championing a lot of what Jimmy's been doing. Do you think when the dust settles and we're maybe 2 or 3 weeks down the line, when we reflect on this, do you think this will be the right decision, Marco?
That all depends what's going on behind closed doors. like we said, we can only go off that statement. And it seemed the key thing for me is they're going about the budget and financial. So that I feel like that is a big thing. We won't know unless obviously that comes to light. But from a footballing point of view, who knows who comes in? I don't know if we're going to talk about that. For them to do this on such a short space of time, I think we've got someone. I think we've got someone coming in, surely. But again, what do we know?
Becky, you're our special guest today. I know you were somebody who really did advocate for Jimmy Dean. So how was that news received for you personally today?
I think you'd know that, Barra, because I messaged you about 6 million times saying I was about to cry. I was gutted, and it came as a complete shock. I thought if they was going to let him go, it would have been before now, I guess. It would have been probably Sunday. I know it's only on Thursday now. It does seem a bit abrupt. I totally agree with what Marco says. The only thing I can think of is that they have someone lined up for sure. They have to. They can't go through the summer with no manager, I guess. He'll want his own players. But it's not great. I am very pro Jimmy Dean. Always have been. He's a cracking fella as well. So I do wish him the absolute best wherever he goes to. They are lucky sods.
I understand that that's your position, and we're all entitled to our views. I guess I'd probably press you a bit further and say to you, Becky, do you think tactically we were a little bit naive at times this season?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think he got everything right, especially on our away form. I think we went through a few periods, especially away, Kings Lynn, where we didn't have a clue what we was doing. The players would look at the management would look at the players, and they both shrug at each other. No one had a clue. No formation. No. The thing is, it's hard, but I don't think there was a plan B many of the times. We was expected to win. We was expected to play a certain way, and if we didn't play that, or if the other team played a different way to what we knew, there was no plan B.
It's that catch-22 though, isn't it, Becky? Because it's like you can either have your plan B, which you go to possibly too early, or you can say, look, we are Scunthorpe United. This is how we play. We've got a better squad. Jimmy says to himself, I'm the better manager tactically. I'm backing my lads to carry out my instructions. This is how we play, and let the opposition worry about us. That's one argument. The other side of the coin is, that's a little bit arrogant. And sometimes situations are fluid. The game changes. Goals happen unexpectedly. You get a bad wind for 10 minutes and you need to adapt.
I think that's the problem. We would go down, we'd let a sloppy goal in, or someone would come off injured. and then the whole team crumbles. I totally agree. We should, with the squad we had, we should have been a powerhouse going forward. They should have been terrified of us, and they just won. They would come. Well, we would go to their ground. They would come to us, and they would a lot of the time play us off the park. They're very strong, very fast. The only thing that we got going against us is that I think physically we was fitter, so we could last the full game at play at a certain tempo, whereas they went all in straight away, and by 70 minutes they was lagging, so that's when most of our goals came.
Absolutely. Okay, let's just move the conversation on slightly then, Max. Now, I would say we'll be as transparent as we can, and we'll also be as careful as we can when talking about sensitive information. But I believe you've got something to tell us, Max.
Yeah, and it builds on really from what Marco was saying in terms of the financial aspects, or the bit of the statement that you read out earlier. So I think it's only fair that we stress that multiple sources close to the situation have all independently indicated that Jimmy Dean was in fact under contract for another 12 months. And I think that leaves me with more questions. And I know you've reached out to the club, Barry.
Yeah, I did. And to be fair, it was difficult. We're in a difficult position. I got wind of this quite late. I sprung this on a contact at the club quite late. And if I'm being honest, it would have been difficult for them to answer in any other way than they did. So the person at the club said to me, it's times like this when information is super sensitive and we have to go through official channels, and there is no comment at this time. And to be honest, that's fair. I understand we were asking a lot at getting this information, putting it on them last minute, but that kind of is what I got back from my contact at the club, Max.
Yeah, and I would, before Twitter goes bananas, what I would say is that the key word in there is multiple sources. Independently, different people from different perspectives have come to us with the same central piece of information, which I think initially the first time we heard it was probably a little bit surprising. And anybody who would know it's pretty standard that if you've only got one source for something that is contentious or surprising, you wouldn't go on that. But we've had it multiple times now from different actors independently. So it's a bit like Marco says, really, in that if the decision to try and reset, to use the club's word, from the 3 members of staff who have left, then it would be more understandable per se. But to me, that raises 2 questions. Firstly, is if Dean was under contract for 12 months, that might be less of the case, potentially, depending on the situation and all of the inside information, potentially. But I think secondly, and we'll probably discuss this in more detail at some point, when Iron fans have been talking about what the budget's going to look like next season or who might replace Dean, if you're making a management team decision for financial reasons, then your likelihood, speaking hypothetically, of going out and getting somebody like Neil Ardley or, paying Cliff Byrne more than he might get in League One or League Two as an assistant manager at Doncaster, or paying compensation for any management team who are in work, if you're making today's decision because of finances, then tomorrow's decision, if you like, the hiring of the new team, that's going to be financially, at least partly financially motivated too, I think.
Marco, I guess, it's difficult. We're all trying to digest what we know and what we've heard, but what we know factually. Does this indicate to you then, Marco, that they've probably got somebody lined up.
Yeah, I think so. Like we said, after that playoffs, the next few days, obviously, there must have been discussions. Like obviously, we're quite late with our retain list, and release list. So these discussions must have been happening, and you can only assume that Jimmy's involved. So yeah, it is strange how it's came about, and if it's just sort of they have reached out or they've been eyeing somebody up when obviously the form's not been great. Obviously, the intention was to win the league. That's not been done. We've had a lot of time in second, knowing we're not going to win the league. Have they been looking elsewhere? And maybe that man's or woman has become available. So,
God, could you imagine Twitter if we appointed a woman as manager?
oh God,
It's spoilers. It's Becky.
Well, I am free.
She'd been playing the ultimate Game of Thrones card this whole time.
Look, at the end of this podcast, it's gonna be Becky signing a contract.
Look, Becky and Marco have got a 100% win record as a management duo for the Iron Hour Podcast 11. I'm
tell you
telling
what,
this now.
there'd have been a winger on that wing on Saturday. I'll tell you that for free.
Right, if it's Ross Barrows or Andy Barraclough at left back, even on that first half, I'm taking Ross Barrows.
That's entirely fair.
But yeah, like I said, sorry, I'm going to make it negative again. But yeah, I hope we've got someone lined up because of the shit show of last year. All the talk at the club was about stability.
Mm.
The stable thing to do, surely, would have been to keep Dean in charge and let him have a crack at an uninterrupted, hopefully, season off the pitch and hope the results come. But this is football. It doesn't work like that. It's a results business. It's minuscule margins, like Mark said, with the penalty decisions. And they obviously they want to go a different way. And so be it. I mean, look, what the board have done so far, touch wood, has been, we speak about every week, it's been nothing short of a miracle, like amazing. So again, 12 months' time, we might be looking back on this saying, like, it was the right decision. And the thing is, I don't think for as many people, and there's a lot of people who didn't want Jimmy at the club. And because he hadn't achieved his goal, and I get that, I do get that. But I would struggle to find more than two or three, and I mean, we're quite a large fan base. I'm talking various who would say they don't love Jimmy Dean as a man. I mean, what he's done and the connection he's established with us guys. I know, say we want about his managerial, but as an actual human being, what Jimmy Dean's done for his club has been absolutely amazing. So yeah, I'm sad to see him go. I'm a surprised no. And me included, we've all questioned people's tactics, but whoever we're getting next year, we'll question their tactics. They're going to make mistakes. This is how the world of football works. So, yeah, I am sad to see him go. But like I said, I won't hear a bad word said about Jimmy Dean as a man because it's been amazing.
No, I guess well said. Becky, I don't know if you've got anything ready. You know, what did the fans say? Have we got any kind of comments we can go to get some feedback from Iron fans?
Absolutely. So the lower league look, they actually came to Glanford Park when it was Glanford Park. Through the whole different owners, they protested with us. I don't know if anyone remembers. They've said it's rare to see a manager come in, take a team down, then essentially fall off the title chase, then lose the playoffs, leave with people's best wishes. Jimmy Dean guided this club through some horrific waters, the late wage payments, the debt collectors coming to the ground, the squatters' right fiasco, and the whole club being stripped to pieces around him. Didn't work out how everyone wanted it to, but I don't think you could have had a better character at the helm whilst all this was going on. And I think that sums it up absolutely perfectly. I mean, at some points there was Jimmy Dean not getting paid at all and paying his squad to stay over at different parts in different hotels in the country. Then we've got Dave, who says, top bloke who's been a credit to the club whilst in post. However, from a footballing perspective, 100% the correct decision. So everyone's saying, well, most people are saying that it's a correct decision and they wish him well. They wish him no harm at all. Flat Caps and Bovril have said, take care of yourself, Jimmy. If you ever get to read this, your passion and love for the club was off the scale, and that has resonated with much of the fan base. Carried yourself with dignity and class throughout. Gutted it hasn't worked. Always an iron.
So it's interesting, Becky, that you say you kind of get the vibe that the majority of people probably agree with the decision. But interestingly enough, a straw poll though it is, I did see on the fans' Facebook page yesterday, before the decision was announced, I did see a poll which seemed to suggest it was more like 60% in favour of Jimmy staying. So do you think, is this people, is it just that you're looking on Twitter rather than Facebook, or is this people changing their mind post decision, do you think?
I think, well, it's well known that Twitter and Facebook have many different opinions. You'll see that on Twitter, you'll see it on Facebook. I think it's a bit of both. I haven't looked on Facebook, I'm not going to lie, but I do think people are changing now it's happened. They was willing to stick with him while he was here and give him 100%, but now the decision's been taken from them, I guess, and so on news coming in, they're also happy with that. So I think it's a bit of both.
I will say social media, obviously, especially Twitter and to Facebook to some extent. When something like this happens, obviously something negative of a club, you do see a certain breed of person coming towards the keyboards, which they're dusting them off. Some people just seem to thrive with any negativity, and that seems to fuel them. So
always the one with no photos as well.
Yeah, well, I'm not nervous. It's for cryptic tweets. It's for people crawling out the wall. It's always the same demographic. Don't believe anything until you see a new manager. Whether you think you've seen him, or what's the saying? Tesco's or Forest Pines.
Forest Pines with Billy Sharp. Forest Pines with Billy Sharp's dad. That's when it's official.
Yeah, like I said, some people just thrive. When we win a game, we're nowhere to be seen. But come something bad happening, it's all hands to the deck of their keyboards instead of HMS Pistol League.
And look, Twitter is massively representative. If Twitter was representative of society, Jeremy Corbyn would be Prime Minister. Like, so no, it's true.
There we go. I wondered when we
all day as well. Oh,
look, it's
don't say that to Becky. She's Eastern European.
Well, that took a turn, didn't it? Look, I think often with managers as well, it fans' reaction in that sort of key 72-hour period can depend on who you appoint. Like, I remember when, we've sat managers before and you've been left in an interim period for months and months and months, and then the club just drifts. If they go out and appoint somebody, and not just the four of us, but fans at large go, oh, crikey, not sure that's an upgrade on Dean, then the reaction might be different. Or if it's somebody who has maybe got a connection with the club, we'll all go, oh, fucking hell, I hope this works. You don't want the previous memories to be tarnished. Or if it's
we seem to have this really weird obsession with fans wanting to bring back former managers, former players, where it hasn't worked out before, or they're no longer a player and we think it might work out than being a manager. It always seems a bit bizarre to me. But I guess I just hope it was handled in the right way. These things are never nice. It is what it is. I just hope it was handled with dignity. And I guess them having made the decision they've made, I will just hope that they have got somebody lined up, and it isn't now that we enter this state of limbo for weeks on end, this protracted state, Max.
Yeah, and again, I think there are at times like this, there are almost more questions than answers, and I've certainly got more questions than answers right now. That statement's talked about, or certainly the way I read it. Please correct me if I'm wrong in terms of they've finalised the budget for next season, the retained list. If I was any manager being interviewed or being lined up by a club, any club right now, and they haven't sorted the retained list out, I'd have opinions on that. You know, any manager's going to want to be able to try and have input into those decisions. So yeah, I would have questions in terms of whether or not they've reached those decisions about the budget and the retained list with Jimmy, and then something's changed their mind, or if they've been having those discussions with potential option or options to replace Dean, and they've got to a point now or early this afternoon where they thought, right, fuck it, we're on. Um, I could definitely understand and would agree with the decision of not announcing a new manager in the one singular blow, because in my personal opinion, Dean deserves better than that. But every hour from sort of lunchtime tomorrow, I've no doubt that Scunny's Twitter feeds are going to be full of people going, announce new manager, announce new manager, announce new manager. So yeah, I'm gutted really, and I just hope that whatever the future holds for Jimmy Dean, that it's bright, because he bloody deserves it.
Well, that kind of concludes the discussion around this topic. I hope we've presented balanced cases, a balanced argument both for and against. Ultimately, we are made up of people with different opinions, and that's the beauty of it. Sometimes you get people with the same opinions, and sometimes you don't. So I think it was nice to have, kind of the different views going on, and then also bringing the opinions from the fans via Becky. So that was quite a nice touch, I thought. I guess the only last thing to mention, although it's been a sensitive subject to talk about, we do have a little bit of positive news, which is we have our charity football game coming up on Sunday, the 19th of May at the Attis Arena. And we are taking on a Yorkshire-based Everton supporters group. I think they're based in Wakefield. And all money raised is actually going to go to Scunthorpe United. It's going straight to the club. So really, we're trying to help the board out. We're trying to help the club out as much as we can. Whatever decisions the board make, ultimately we will get behind. And yeah, we just want to raise as much money as possible, as we've done with our other fundraisers. But this of course is a cause that's really close to all of our hearts. We've hit the ground running. We've almost filled all of the player sponsorship now. Becky, I'm really sorry to put you on the spot. Off the top of your head, do you know
He's not sorry. He's not sorry. It's a lie.
Do you know the players who still require sponsorship? And if not, that's fine. We can publish that.
I think we have about 4 out of 20 that still. So we are doing 2 sponsorships per player. And most of them are gone. I think we have about 4 or 5 left. I've got to go through my DMs and my messages later and get back to people, but they have flew out, just like the match sponsor. We put that on Facebook, and within, what was it, 2 minutes or something?
Yeah.
They'd both sold out.
So these 4 players that are left, if people want to sponsor, what do they do, Becky? And how much will it cost them?
So it is £15, and you can just get in contact with me on Facebook. That is Becky Wustrack. With
I've seen your DMs. It's an absolute mess.
They're
you want to see
away.
some of the states in there, guys. It's ridiculous.
And that's just Max.
Right.
No, don't worry. You don't need to address it. We know it's bad.
No, I'm not going to address it, other than to say, fuck off.
And I think another thing, it is important to say all monies raised from the game will be going towards paying Gary Hooper's wages next season.
Indeed. No, I mean, look, I personally have put an item to the auction as well. And, I've got to give this guy a shout out. I nearly forgot. Stuart Moore, he's done some amazing work, right? I think he raised over £6,000 with his raffle. And he has very, very kindly offered to help us out. So we've got some amazing prizes donated from the Everton guys and a couple of other bits and bobs we're going to add to the cause. But Stu, what a guy. He's very kindly offered to sell the raffle tickets in person and on Facebook. And I think they're available at £2.50 a strip, or you can get 3 for £5. So if you are interested, please hit Stuart up. He's handling all of that side for us, and we are massively appreciative of it.
Stu's a legend, and I tell you, I didn't reply to it, but there was I've seen the odd tweet criticising him on Twitter and thinking, do one. Stuart is the nicest bloke who cares about his town, cares about his football club. I know I'm biased, but he's got great politics. He's put in hundreds of hours fundraising to try and, help and save the football club and the community. When South Ferriby flooded, what was it, about 2012, 2013? He was doing amazing work with that. Stuart is an absolutely elite bloke, and we're so lucky to have him on board.
Yeah, fantastic. If we could look at a target, what do we think, guys? We think we could maybe aim for £1,000, a bit more. Do you reckon, Becky?
I think you're being shy there. I think we're going to do that.
Wow.
Yeah, I think
Not
we're
the
going to do
first time
that.
I've been told I'm shy from a lady. Why are you blushing?
It's not me.
It's a grower. Believe me.
It's not even cold anymore. You can't even use that as an excuse.
Yeah. Also, if you can't sponsor, or even if you just get down and support, Glanford Park is open. With food, there's definitely
so
open. And yeah, just
buckets.
even if you've just got anything, loose change, whatever.
And if you want to come and cheer us on or cheer for the Everton Supporters Club, or just give me abuse. But I do warn you though, I will give abuse back.
Surprising. Really surprising that.
It's just not my style. I usually take it quietly. What can I say?
On that bombshell.
Hey.
Can I finish it with a personal note, guys? I just want to say, sometimes, right, life is crazy. Like, we have situations going on in our personal life. All of us do. I know there's so much complexities that goes on in all of our lives. But honestly, people, when they reach out to you and just check in on you, I know they're getting all soppy here, but this is a bit of guys chat. When your mates check in on you and do stuff like that, it means the world. And to anyone who has been checking in on me over the past couple of weeks and months, I really, really do appreciate it. People who I don't even know have just sent me the odd message just saying, Barry, just noticed you're maybe not up to your usual self. Everything okay? I'm fine, guys. Thank you for reaching out. I really, really do appreciate that. And I just wanted to say that to our listeners, who a few have been messaging me. So thanks for that. But
Leave him alone.
Sorry, that's the message. Basically, that's a really nice way of Kat telling me to tell you to fuck off. And
Look, hate is gonna hate. Just don't give a fuck about.
Oh right, call it. I've got Mark saying that.
Swifty. Right. I'll tell you what then, Becky, as you're our special guest, do you want to call it? Do you want to close the pod for us?
Yeah, I can do.
Because I wrote a song for Jimmy.
It's the same one I use for Joe Murphy, to be fair. So he's blocked me, so I can't say it to him.
Is that a true story?
No, he's not on Twitter. He does follow me on Instagram. So
better than the ones that follow you in real life. That's the problem, isn't it?
Follow me to the ground. I have my DMs in a little file ready for a rainy day.
Oh, I've seen, like I say, they're an absolute mess, some of them.
I'm so fucking over.
The butcher's block. But yeah, go on then, Becky, call it for us.
So this is the Iron Hour podcast. Over and out, I guess. Up the iron.
Up the iron. Cheers.
Up the iron.